Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lab 11 Sheet 1. Today we're going to be working on exploded views using two of the three assemblies from Lab 10. However, I'm going to have you download what's called a Parasolid file from the D2L, or if you have access to your course folder inside, or your downloadable course folder from inside the virtual machine, you can just access them from there. So I'm going to share my screen, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, instead of opening up an assembly file or a part file like we've done in the past, come into your course folder and you can either open up the bead breaker. If you don't have access to your course folder in the virtual machine, just go ahead, come into our portal, download it from here. Actually, I would download probably both of them at the same time. That way you don't have to do it again in the next lab or the next sheet. And go ahead and just open up. You can just double click on the bead breaker. What we're going to be doing here to create the exploded view is come into the configuration manager, which is this little box right here, and then right click on default, and we're going to say new exploded view. So this will allow us to add what they call steps. So we can explode each component, pull it off the part, in a very controlled way and really have a nice little feature tree of these exploded steps that we can then edit later if we need to, or delete a step or adjust this as necessary. So the first thing we're going to do here is make sure it's on regular step and then select each of these 4 bolts like that. And then let's just pull these off using this arrow kind of way off here to the side. And then click done. That allows us to stay inside our exploded view editor, but now it's asking us for a next step. Now let's click the radial step option. Select both of the gussets. And we can pull these off kind of somewhere out here near our bolts, just like that. Let's do another radial step of the arms. Oop. See, I didn't click done, so let's just, I'm going to Control Z that. Should bring you right back here. Let's click done. And then we're going to do another radial step using the arms. Bring those way out here just like this. Make sure they don't overlap with the gussets or anything like that. So bring them out kind of like that. That works. Click done. And from here, why don't we go back to a regular step, select our tube, and let's maybe pull this off kind of just like that. Done. Grab our, make sure we're on a normal step again, or regular step. And let's grab both of these components and pull it straight down just like that. Done here. Grab our piston. Then we're going to pull that down even farther, just like that, so that it's nice and spaced out. Click done. Last thing we're going to do is grab our spoon, and you can either drag it straight down so that it's in this space, or you can drag it straight out kind of this direction here. Either one is fine. We're going to click done. And now we have our exploded view. So if you give it a Control-7, so you can manipulate this, and it might not look great in all the views. You don't maybe want to put an exploded view like this on your page. Actually, that looks fine, but you might not want to do something like this. I'm going to go ahead and click Control-7 and click the green check mark. And now if you drill into your default view, you are going to be able to right-click Exploded View, click Collapse, and now it's going to be your standard assembly, right-click or explode, just like that. And with that, we can save this Parasolid file as an assembly. And what I would do, create a folder called Bead Breaker. I'm actually going to create another folder because that one already has stuff in it. Make that bead breaker correct for me. drill into there. And what's cool about these parasolids is now, if I just check this include all reference components, it's going to save the parasolid file as an assembly. I'm going to save that. And so it's going to take a second to think. And what it's actually going to do is actually really neat. I'm going to drag my lab 11 folder over here. If I go into that Beadbreaker correct folder that I just made, now you'll see we have the assembly file, but we also have all the individual part files, which is really neat. Neat feature of parasolid files. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of this. Then I can grab I can go File, New. You could also have done make drawing from part. I'm going to show it this way. Open up a drawing document. CAD 154 title block is what we're going to select. And then I'm going to browse. I've already closed my file, so it's not going to be in the open documents dialog box. And I'm going to browse to this location where I have it saved. Open up that assembly file. And I'm going to drop it right in there. Now you'll see this is going to be, it's going to default to the front view. So if I click escape, because I'm not going to do projections. So I'm going to click on that view. First things first, let's make it shaded with edges. Then we're going to make it isometric. And now we have our exploded view. So I can actually toggle that. I can show it in exploded state, or I can uncheck that and show it in its default configuration. So we're going to take that. Let's go ahead and make this maybe 1 to 10, see what that looks like. Still maybe a little smaller than I would like. Try 1 to 5. I think this is going to be too big. So yeah, so let's do a custom sheet scale, user defined. And maybe make this 7.5. That'll probably work. Sticking off the top of the page a little bit. So let's just kind of bring it in, something like that. There we go. I'm not going to worry that this is kind of off the edge here. We're not using revs, so don't worry about that. I do want you to, of course, edit your sheet format, though. And this should be your name, the class, and the date as per usual. Once it loads up here. Just like that. Click exit your edit sheet format, a little button up at the top. And this is this. And then this is your exploded view. So before we do anything else, though, before we leave this sheet, let's go over to the annotation tab. And we can pull off notes. And what I really want you to do here is, so grab your note tool and label these components. So just kind of click an edge like that, bring it down. So this is going to be your gusset layout. And then we can grab our arm, maybe say arm, tube, tube, not tuber. I'm not worried about you actually giving the exact part number. That's fine. You can if you want. I'm just going to call this bolt for our purposes. pivot cylinder. So with that, we're gonna have to drag that to kind of move it and place it a little bit better in a minute here. This right here is the cylinder. And this is the piston. Click escape to get out of your note tool. And then we can just drag these around a little bit. Give it a second to load. There we go. And so I want you to notice too, I want to bring your attention, if you select an edge versus a face. So if you select an edge, you're going to get an arrow. If you select the face, you're going to get a dot like that. You can change the arrow type, the leader style. You can play around with that if you want to, or you could just kind of leave it as is. So with that, that is going to be your Lab 11 Sheet 1. I do want you to submit Sheet 1 and Sheet 2 as a single file. So you'll have to come in here, add a Sheet 2, and this will be where you put your chopper exploded view. Please label the chopper exploded view as well, just like we did with the bead breaker. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.